Admiral Tony Stark, commander of Station Wolf 359 and captain of the only Borg combat vessel in the fleet. I'm here to report to you my tactical analysis of the Borg threat. The Borg are here, and they're back with some new tactics. A lot of them. In this transmission, I'll be going over visual footage of my encounter with said vessel. It is a Type 1 scouting cube. According to our scans, our multiple scans, they should be minimally armed, minimally armored, and minimally shielded. Nothing the ship can handle. The ship is overpowered in terms of energy output, and it's well defended. So that Borg cube should have been at a disadvantage. Well, let's just say not. So, arriving. It looks like your standard Borg cube, but something was off about it. Wasn't sure what until I got closer. Glowing green. Type 1 scout vessels don't glow green. The only glowing green vessel of the Borgs is a Type 4 tactical cube. And those are the toughest cubes to encounter. I'll approach the ship, and as I approach it, watch what happens. Whoops. So at this range, by now, the scout vessel would have picked me up, and the fact that I had risen my shields and locked weapons on it. At that point, the Borg would react by intercepting me. It didn't budge. Not until I got within 400 meters. So I back off, and then I realize I took damage. That and the damage computer didn't record the damage as seen on the right hand side display. The only damage is was done at Stardock. So I make sure my shielding is online. And I make sure that, it's shown and it's all that. And sure enough, the shield was on. Yet the Borg cube was able to damage my ship. Right here. Because I got damage up there. Damage on the forward saucer. Through the shielding. Another thing I kept noticing. My power output down here. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but my power output kept spiking to 100%. Now, I only did this occasionally when I was doing a banking maneuver, like this one right here. But it kept doing... It kept spiking to 100%. Well, in this ship, if the power grid reaches 100% usage, it starts draining power from the shield. I go for a direct assault. At this point, I just want the cube destroyed, or at least out of Federation space. Realizing that my weapons weren't firing, at least the forward ones, I rotate the ship for the ventral weapons to fire, while I figure out why the hell I didn't fire. Well, those didn't fire either. They're using something that blocks phaser energy from leaving the emitter, or something anyway. I'm not sure what. I couldn't figure out what was going on, but those weapons were working before I left dry dock. And again, more of the spikes. And I wasn't moving. They seem to have taken my visual sensors offline, and so the default position of behind the ship was the only position that was able to be seen. But right there, I had opened up, all weapon banks had opened up at that point. Minimal damage to the Borg cube. Me? I'm taking significant damage to the shield. In fact, it's about to fail. I bring in the spectator camera, as I was tired of moving the camera around to try and get this nice cinematic angle, and I was going to try and get like an above view, but the cinematic spectator camera wouldn't cooperate, so I quickly gave up, so I'm just going to skip this section. Again, disables my forward weapons. I have to reset both impulse and phasers to get them to fire again. Okay, this one was really, really weird and could affect every starship in the fleet. For some reason, I couldn't stop. My engines were outputting over the recommended limit, just trying to stop. I'm unsure of how I managed to get the ship to stop, but that easily, if I was assisting, that would easily put me out of the fight until I can get back to the fight. Watch how far it takes me. Right, there's a good view of the ship. So far there's damage there. There's damage there. So from this angle, the starboard side keeps getting hit. And I'm unsure of why they kept targeting the starboard side. At this point, I'm desperate enough. I shut down the phasers and shunt that energy to the engines to try and stop. I also make sure the phaser overload is off, of which it was. But I go ahead and cycle it anyway. That seemed to have fixed it. Now I'm not sure if that was the Borg or that was the ship. If it was the ship, then these NX classes need to be taken out of service. I refuse to think it's my ship. Back in the fight. Now I have damage to my aft section as well. I'm now noticing. Come in, weapons hot, or a weapon hot anyway. So did you see that nacelle flicker? Now that's not me toggling the engines on and off. I don't have a button to toggle my engines on and off. It's like they were disrupting the power grid somehow, and it was slowly affecting the entire ship. I'm starting to think that is what caused the engine failure and the fact that they're able to damage me through the shield, because there are gaps in the shield due to the power overload. Oops, that's not the button I wanted. I take the engines offline for a second, as in the time I skipped, I put a button onto the onto the bar, but then quickly realized it was taken off by something. We'll just skip that. That was a game malfunction there. I reset the shield parameters in hopes to adapt to the Borg strategy. If you can't defeat the enemy, play like the enemy. I'm just gonna skip that because I think I took like 10 minutes to do that. Now it turned out that the power overload was actually a game bug. All I had to do was delete something on the grid and paste it back in. That's all I did in that skipped portion. And you see it's fixed. And then suddenly out of the blue, my faces start becoming useful. Now suddenly I'm unable to control the ship. Completely unable to control the ship. Almost like something's fighting for control. I overload the phasers, which is that phaser bank thing up at the top right hand side. That's the heat indicator for the phaser arrays. At this point, my shields are offline, and the damage computer it was off. So I start making a note of what is offline and what isn't, just so I don't keep trying to use it. Now I know I'm safe at this distance because so far the Borg cube hasn't come after me. It's just kind of stood there. Again, another full-on barrage, all weapons. Minor damage. Definitely not a scout ship. I come around for another direct assault. Now the ship I spawned in technically should have torpedoes in the front. I kinda had to spawn some in, because they were modded torpedoes, and I don't have the mod for them. So that's what I was just doing out there. I'm like, if they can have torpedoes, Starfleet has torpedoes, I need to get torpedoes. Major damage to the ship. Almost like they dropped whatever shield they had. That right there, something pulled me directly into that ship. Either pulled me or pushed me, and it overloaded the shield grid and damaged them. Out of RP, technically, the shield array should be destroyed, so I kind of simulated that by lowering them. Suddenly now it also looks like the Borg cube is disabled, but it's still firing at me. I try to use one of the damage systems again, so I go ahead and take a few seconds to update the LCD display. Technically, this wouldn't happen in battle, but because this is a special battle, and technically I need all of my resources, it makes it flow a lot better for me. Also, the game wouldn't cooperate with me. I was trying to get this to be a nice, smooth cinematic, but you see how it went. External sensors were knocked offline for a few seconds. And now I'm just trying to destroy the ship, as I'm taking heavy damage. The port nacelle is struck. Warp drive is knocked offline. So I don't forget, I put it onto the LCD. suddenly the Borg moved itself over a bit. I was unsure of why, and I still am. I come in for a final pass before I decide that it's time to retreat, as both nacelles are crippled. Just then, something, and it didn't look like a tractor beam because there's no beam coming out of the ship. Something pulled me towards the ship. Unknown of what it is. But by now you've probably seen this transmission, and I'm either back at Starbase, or I'm destroyed. Because I had re-engaged the Borg. I managed to get some power back, so I try to make another blow at the ship. And this is the result. For some reason, my weapons refused to fire. Still unsure of how and why. So I decide it's time to return to the station. Major repairs, which I may or may not end up doing. I divert warp power from the warp reactor to the impulse engines, and I use the front section of the warp nacelle and create a semi-stable warp field. And I was able to get warp 1, so I could warp away. However, it burnt out both impulse and warp power, so I had to maneuver on emergency power and thrusters only. But I decide and I'm best to just leave it alone. Hello everyone, Random Guys Gaming. Welcome to Final Stand. Final Stand is a little cinematic that Captain Shack, Wasted Space, and a few others decided to make, and it's a cinematic, well, not a cinematic, but it's a scenario where it's the final stand. This is the final outpost of the Federation before the Alpha Quadrant will become swarming with Borg. That singular Borg cube happened to be the only cube there at the time. After doing a search of the system, that is the only cube. This save didn't come with any instructions other than what is on the starbase. However, this save would be a heck of a lot more fun if I had more people. While there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vessels shown, if we get a full 6 people, or more, if we get more than 6 people, I'll add in another Borg cube. So the more people, the better. If you play Space Engineers, know anyone who does play Space Engineers, or just want to join the call just to view the fun, well, I'm here to tell you that day is coming at some point. Unfortunately, I'm not sure when that day is, because my schedule just keeps getting fuller and fuller. I'll make a day, but it might be somewhat last minute. Maybe a day and a half, maybe 2 days in advance. So that's why I'm telling you now. I'll try my damnedest to get a solid date and make it somewhat in the future, so maybe more people can join. But if you're interested, head over to the Discord and react to the announcement under announcements. And I will personally ping you what day. I'll also put it into announcements what day as well. I'll ask you what ship do you want, so I can get it set up for you, ready to go. But I need to know how many people, so I know how many cubes I need to put in, or if any. If there's under 3 people, I'm just gonna cancel the event. So I really do hope some people can join. I'll try and get some of my friends to join too. But yeah, come on out, have some fun. Afterwards, there'll be a server party where we just come in and just kind of chat. Server parties, a lot of the rules are relaxed. You know, I'm a little lenient on pretty much everything. 'Cause it's a party, why not? So, yeah, come on down. And if you don't know what the Discord is, it is down in the description. I will also put in the link to the final stand. Well done to Captain Shack, Wasted Space, and the crew who made this save. It is probably the longest lasting save I've seen. Aside from just a simple weapon upgrade on the starships. This could be fun. I went ahead and I spent the rest of this video here refitting all the ships with better weapons and the phaser mod you saw there. If you have any scenario suggestions for me to play, stick them in the comments, or if you can't put them in the comments for some reason because YouTube is a pain in the butt, stick them into the Discord and ping me with them. Other than that, have a good day.